Hey YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy here, Venom XCV, bringing to you my Scareclaw Kashtira Deck profile. So please hit the like button, please hit subscribe, leave a comment, and let's get straight into it. So first off, to explain your Scareclaw monsters, that they have this ability where regardless, as long as there's a Scareclaw monster on your side of the field, they can summon themselves adjacent to that monster once per turn for each Scareclaw monster you have. So first off, we have 3 Scareclaw right cards. This card is the bread and butter for your deck. It is your searcher, so when you normal or special summon, it allows you to search out one Scareclaw spell or trap card, which also, yeah, it just makes the deck work so well, gives you a bit of consistency also. And on top of that, if there is 3 monsters on any side of the field, it allows you to gain 1 extra draw. So yep, this is your main Scareclaw monster. Next off, we have 3 Scareclaw Astras, and what this card does is, again, allows it to be special summoned adjacent to any other Scareclaw monsters you may have on the field, and it allows your extra monster zone Scareclaw monsters to gain extra attacks based on the number of Scareclaw monsters you have on the field. Next we have 2 Scareclaw Acro. What this card does is for the number of defense position monsters you have on the side of the field, it increases the attack of your extra zone Scareclaw like monsters. So basically, just let me double check and read. So it gains, yep, your Scareclaw monster in extra zone may gain 300 attack for each defense position monster you control. So yeah, this card is really good for boosting up the attack of your Scareclaw Tryhard. It's mandatory if you want to go for the 1 turn kill. And then last but not least, we have 1 Scareclaw Balloon. What this card does is this allows your extra zones Scareclaw monsters to inflict piercing damage, which again is great for a 1 turn kill. Now on to the spell and traps. We have 3 Scareclaw Arrival. This card is basically a monster reborn on steroids because it is not once per turn, and on top of that it gives you bonus and added protection for your extra zone Scareclaw monsters, because if it's about to be destroyed you can just banish this from the graveyard instead. And yeah, so great card to give your Scareclaw extra zone monsters a little bit more protection. 1 Scareclaw Defang. Again, this card is absolutely fantastic for the deck. It stops your opponent's spells and traps, and basically anything from targeting your extra monster zone Scareclaw cards. So yep, this card is fantastic. Not only that, you can banish 1 Scareclaw monster from your extra zone or the graveyard, and it basically allows you to, just let me double check, yes, so you can banish it from the field or graveyard, then target 1 card your opponent controls and destroy it. So this is a great way to get rid of cards on your opponent's side of the field that could be causing you a little bit of problems. Next we have 2 Primitive Planet Reichphobia. This card is fantastic. What it does is it allows you to search and add 1 Visa Starfrost or 1 Scareclaw monster from your deck to your hand, and then on top of that it has the added bonus where your opponent loses 100 attack and defense for each defense position monster on the field, which is, it just works really nicely with your Scareclaw Tryhard, which we will see in the extra deck. Not only that, if there's 3 defense position monsters on either side of the field, it allows you to pop and destroy 1 card your opponent controls, and yeah, destroy it. So it's really good that way. Next we have 1 Scareclaw Decline. This card's really good because what it does is it allows you to add your planet Reichphobia from your field back to your hand, or even from the graveyard back to the hand. So it's a great way to shuffle that card back in, you know, so that way you can get more monsters out if need be in case of emergency for the long grind game. And on top of that, if there's 3 defense position monsters on the field, then you can banish this card from your graveyard and add one Scareclaw card from your graveyard to your hand. So yeah, really handy to recycle your cards to get more combos or plays going, or to help you when you're in a difficult spot. Next we have one Scareclaw Twinsaw. This card is again searchable through right card, and what this card does is it allows you to tribute one Scareclaw monster, then target 2 cards your opponent controls and destroy them. So it's good to clear the board to try stop your opponent's plays, or definitely to slow them down. And it's got another effect which is fantastic when you're playing up against other Link decks. So when this card is in the graveyard, you can banish it, which then basically prevents your opponent from triggering and activating Link monster effects for that whole turn. Well, it actually says neither player can activate Link effects that turn, but again, if you have Tryhard out, you're not going to be activating Link effects because it's just a non-targeting constant effect. And yeah, you can really stop your opponent's plays and stop them before they even get going, if you're playing up against Link decks, of course. And lastly, one Visa Starfrost, just to finish off the Scareclaw package. So yep, that's that part of the deck. Next we are going to move on to this Kashtira engine of the deck. So first of all, we have 2 Scareclaw Kashtira. This is the card which links your Scareclaw and your Kashtira plays together really nicely. And what this does is, for any Kashtira monster attacking, or Scareclaw monster for that fact attacking, this basically negates the effect of your opponent's monster. So it's a really good way to overcome some of those really troublesome cards that are hard to get off the board. On top of that, if this card is in defense position, it can attack, which is also really good. And on top of that, you can banish one Scareclaw or one Kashtira card from your hand or from your graveyard, and you can special summon this card. Next up, we have Scareclaw Fenrir. This is your searcher for the deck. It allows you to add one Kashtira monster from your deck to your hand. On top of that, if a opponent's monster activates an effect, you can banish it, which is really good. And on top of that, if it attacks, or say a opponent's monster's attacking, again, you can banish it. Great card, really strong for the deck. Next we have 2 Kashtira Unicorn. What this card does is allows you to search one Kashtira trap or magic card, spell card from your deck, add it to your hand, and then if your opponent's monster activates the effect, you can look through their extra deck and banish one card. So again, great card, really strong. We have one Kashtira Rise Heart. What this card does is allows you to special summon it when there's a Kashtira monster on the field, and what you can do is it then activate its effect, which banishes 3 cards from the top of your opponent's deck, and then it becomes a level 7, which can allow you to get into your XYZ Kashtira monsters. So again, really good card for the deck. Next we have Kashtira Theosis. What this card does is basically it allows you to target one Kashtira monster you control, special summon one Kashtira monster with a different attribute from your deck in defense position. Also, for the rest of this turn, when this card resolved, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck except XYZ monsters. If this card is banished, you can target one of the banished Kashtira cards except Kashtira Theosis, add it to your hand. You can only use the effect of Kashtira Theosis once per turn. So this is really good if you want to go down your Kashtira engine route, depending on your hand. Next we have Kashtira Buff. This card is like a god card because it allows you to normal summon level 7 monsters without tributing. During your main phase, you can special summon one of your non-XYZ Kashtira monsters that is banished or in your graveyard. Then on top of that, if your opponent activates a spell, card or effect while you control a Kashtira monster, you can target 3 cards in your opponent's graveyard and banish them face down. So this card is really good because if you use Kashtira Scareclaw's effect, banish a Kashtira monster, you can use this to get it straight back out to increase your board. So that is the last of the Kashtira engine. Next up we have a small Bastille package, because this is basically playing the role of hand traps, but on top of that it does allow you to get more cards out on the field to go into your link plays. So 3 Bastille Magnant, and this card basically what it does is you can, when your opponent controls a monster, you can banish 1 light or dark monster, special summon this card to your side of the field, and then at the end phase you can add 1 Bastille monster from your deck to your hand. And lastly we have Bastille Drewsworm. What this card does is very similar again. You can target 1 light or dark monster and either graveyard, banish it, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand. This is a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. This card is sent from the field to the graveyard. You can target 1 special summoned monster your opponent controls, send it to the graveyard. So again, if you have this in the field and you use it to link off into your link plays, you can actually then trigger this effect and basically destroy 1 card from your 1 special summon monster from your opponent's side of the field. So yeah, again, it's just great for the deck. It's a lot of synergy, you know. And lastly, Branded Regain. So this is obviously beneficial for your Bastille, your small Bastille hand trap engine if you like, but on top of that, if you use the effect of Scareclaw Defang, the card you just banished, it allows you to basically recycle it back into your extra deck zone. So, and it gives you a little bit of draw power that way as well. So great card. And next up, 3 Ash Blossom, and that kind of finishes off our hand trap package, because at the moment currently in the meta, seeing a lot less Droll. So I might change this about, maybe make more hand traps, but at the moment this is what I'm playing until I've got a better feel and grasp for the current format. Next off we have some spells. So we have Reinforcement of the Army, Harpy's Feather Duster. So what this card here does is allows you to add 1 level 4 or lower warrior monster from your deck to your hand. So this is effectively a searcher for your Scareclaw right card, or even your Kashtira Arise Heart. Not Arise Heart, but yeah. So anyway, just allows you to extend your plays and search. And last off we have our board breakers. We have 2 Dark Cruel or No More, so we can negate the effect of all our opponent's monsters on the field. No monsters can respond to this, so this is great. And last but not least, we have 2 Evenly Matched. Again, great board breaker, allows you to break down really troublesome boards at times, so that way you can then set yourself up to take your opponent out your next turn. So that is the main deck covered. It's 42 cards and I feel like it's really good. It works really well, you know. So next we'll go into our extra deck. So starting off we have 3 Scareclaw Light Heart, and what this card does is when this is special summoned, it allows you to add to your hand 1 Primitive Planet Reichphobia. So this is really key to getting your combo started and going. Next off we have 2 Scareclaw Tryhard. This card is the boss monster and the main focus point of the entire deck for me personally. This card allows you to add 1 level 3 Scareclaw monster from your graveyard, special summon it, and then add 1 Scareclaw monster from your deck to your hand. The only drawback is that basically it does not allow you to special summon any other type of monsters apart from Scareclaw monsters for the rest of that turn. Next off we have one Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. This card, oh, she's terrific. She is basically a link kaiju. I like to think of her as, because you can link off some of your opponent's troublesome monsters on the field that you're struggling to get rid of. So it's just a great way to clear up the board at times, you know. Next off we have one Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess. What this card does is basically just puts up a negate for your opponent, so again it can really slow down your opponent's plays. It's a fantastic card. Next off we have one Cross Shape. This card is absolutely terrific for getting out your vicious Astraloud combos, and but I'll go into more of that in a minute. Last off for the link cards, we have one Access Code Talker. No more should be needed to be said, because this card is amazing, and sometimes, a lot of the time, I will use this card to finish off in the one turn kill, because this card is just so good within its own right. Next off, Vicious Astraloud. This card can be fused and summoned by banishing your right card, or basically any warrior monster any monster with 1500 attack and 2100 defense points plus your Visa Starfrost. This card cannot be destroyed by battle, and when you special summon it, you can destroy one monster on your opponent's side of the field, and this card gains its attack. So yeah, this card is really strong, good for popping off monsters on your opponent's side of the board, and yeah, it is on its it's an awesome card. Next off, to complement the Kashtira engine, we have one Kashtira Shangri-La. I can't even say it. I just call this card the Death Star, because look at it, this thing is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Death Star. We cannot argue that. Lastly, one Kashtira Arise Heart. This card is a walking macrocosmos. It just banishes everything. It is fantastic. It's just a great card to have. And then next off we have one Red Ice Flare Metal Dragon. So this card basically, every time your opponent activates an effect, they lose 500 life points. So if you have Try Heart out in this card, every time your opponent's trying to trigger off effects, sometimes this effect can actually finish them off before you even get to attack them. And then one Zeus. This card, again, a great XYZ monster, really easy to summon out, especially in a deck like this. It's awesome. And last but not least, one Baron de Fleur. This card is awesome again, that it can destroy cards on your opponent's side of the field, that can negate effects. It's really good, really strong card. And last but not least, let's talk about the side deck. So starting off, we have 3 Performapal, 5 Rainbow Magician. This card is really good to slow down your opponent, especially if they have, this is effectively a Dark Drill or no more, if your opponent has no set spell or trap card. So this is really good if you've got a really difficult board to break down, to overcome. Next off, 2 Nib. It's essential, especially if you're coming up against combo greedy decks. This is really good for wiping and clearing the board. Next off, 2 Dimensional Barriers. Again, this card can hit Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, and Ritual, including Pendulum. It's just very good for stopping certain decks before they even get going. Next off, we have a Floodgate card, Summon Limit. This card can hit every deck. So if you have your Try Heart out and you have, say, a Negate on, and you have this ready to be activated, you can literally stop your opponent from even being able to counter your board. So your next turn, you go in for game. Next we have 3 Royal Decree. I played this card just because this deck does not have a great matchup against Labyrinth or Trap Tricks, but this card really does help because if you play this, they effectively can't play and you can then take the win for the game. And next we have two more Scareclaw Twin Swords, so sometimes I like to side this in if I'm playing against a link heavy deck. It's really strong, it's a really good card, but I've spoke about it before, so not much more said. So I think it is now time to go into the combos. So instead of combos, what I'll do is test hands to kind of show off the deck combos as well as showing how consistent this can be. So let's start. I'll draw 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, lovely. This is a great hand. So what I will do is, first of all, take Kashtira Deck, special summon defense position, activate its effect, and add to my hand 1 Scareclaw Kashtira. Next, what I will do is then I will normal summon Acro. I understand what you're going to say here, but you'll find out my reason in a minute. So normal summon that, and then I will add and activate Planet Reichphobia, so I can add 1 Scareclaw monster from my deck to my hand, and this time it is actually going to be Visa's Starfrost, and you'll see why shortly. Next off, I am going to I'm going to special summon from the extra deck 1 Scareclaw Lightheart by tributing off my Acro, as you can see there. And then its effect triggers, which adds 1 primitive Planet Reichphobia from my deck to my hand. Next, what we are going to do is activate Visa Starfrost by tributing Scareclaw Lightheart. However, Lightheart's effect triggers, which allows you to special summon this card. So next off, oops, I actually played that wrong way there, ignore that. So it's supposed to look like that. Next off, I'm going to play I'm going to special summon 1 right card. Ignore that. When I'd done that, I was supposed to summon that defense position like that, and then I could special summon my right card, which allows me to draw 1 card. Add 1 spell trap card from my deck to my hand. In this case, we are going to go for the, where is it? Defang. Hold on. Where'd that go? There we go. 1 Scareclaw Defang to my hand. So this is going to give us bonus protection for our Scareclaw Tryhard. Next off, I'm going to activate the effect of Scareclaw Defang for that added layer of protection. And then next off, I am going to then summon Baron de Flor by tributing these 2. And then what I could do if I really wanted would be to then link summon these 2 into Cross Shape, and then I could I could then fusion summon 1 Vicious Astraloud by banishing my use the Starfrost and my Scareclaw Lightheart. This then triggers, which will allow me to let's see, fusion monster, you can special summon one level 4 or lower monster from your graveyard. So now I'm going to actually special summon my Acro, and then what I would do is I would activate the effect of Scareclaw Kashtira by banishing my right card, and then what I can now do is we can go onto our try-heart place. So I would special summon try-heart here, getting rid of you, and I'd probably get rid of you just for the moment. These cards will all be in defense position because of Scareclaw Tryheart's effect. And then I'm going to trigger Scareclaw Tryheart's effect by activating it, and I will summon Acro, which then allows me to add one Scareclaw monster from my deck straight to my hand. And I think I'm going to go for Scareclaw right card, and the reason being, in my opponent's next turn, after my opponent's turn, my next turn, what I can do is I can special summon this, which will then be forced into defense position. I can add one Scareclaw Arrival to my hand. I can then summon out my Kashtira, and then what I would do, so I can trigger off Scareclaw Tryheart's effect and be able to add from my deck to my hand, I would get you into the graveyard like that. Then what I would do is I could actually, if I really wanted, just for the extra power if you like, I could actually link off you three like that, and then activate Scareclaw Tryheart's effect, which would then allow me to add special summon Scareclaw Acro, and then it allows me to add in a Scareclaw monster from my deck to my hand. So I would have Scareclaw Astra, and then I would special summon that, and honestly I would say that's good enough for game, because bear in mind you could destroy a card using access code talker by banishing, how many targets have we got? Two targets. So yeah, you could destroy 2 cards through access code talker. You could pop a monster, or using your Planet Right Phobia. You've got Scareclaw Defang, so this is great for being on your second turn. And obviously before that, say we didn't have that, if we're at the point we were before, you'd have had Barone to negate as well. And then on top of that, we did have an Ash Blossom in our hand, so that's, yeah, I think that would have been good enough for game. So once again, thanks for giving me a watch. Please like, subscribe, comment, and feel free to join my Discord. I will add all the links down below. So thank you.